welcome. You're watching the Newshour Agenda, India's most loved primetime show at 10. I'm Padmaja Joshi. It's India versus fake news. And fake news, which is now accused of having a more insidious intent. Today, online news portal The Wire was sued by BJP's IT Cell head Amit Malviya. And this action came even as the Prime Minister, today in an unrelated development, cautioned against the spread of fake news, saying that the smallest such piece of wrong information can create a storm. Remember, discredited and denounced internationally, The Wire continued to be defiant about their fake news piece that had claimed that the ruling party in India has unilateral and unchallenged powers to have social media posts pulled down within a matter of minutes. This story on The Wire had named Amit Malviya as the main brain behind the entire takedown operation. Today, Malviya took The Wire to court for defamation, cheating, forgery and conspiracy. What's more damaging, though, is that in his legal suit, Amit Malviya claimed that the criminal conspiracy was hatched as a quote-unquote carefully calibrated campaign of calumny, and that its intent was to undermine the Indian public's informed choice and to do irreparable harm to the democratic right to dissent. Mind you, all of this is happening when India is one of the largest users of all social media platforms, a time of great flux, where social media has turned into an ideological battleground. So was the online space used for a disinformation exercise? Is there any merit to the argument that social media has been taken over by a certain ideological leaning? And more specifically about The Wire, is there any truth to the assertion that The Wire was conspiring with someone in order to carry out a campaign of calumny and influence the choices of the Indian public?
It is clear that The Wire and some unknown persons entered into a criminal conspiracy with the intent to malign and tarnish my reputation, deliberately inserted my name into a story and fabricated evidence to implicate me. This also undermines the democratic and informed choices that the public makes through a carefully calibrated campaign of disinformation and calumny, and does irreparable harm to the democratic right of dissent. On October 27, 2022, after scathing public scrutiny and the exposure of significant fabrication of dates, times, and content in its alleged proof, The Wire publicly apologized to its readers and retracted the stories about MCheck and Meta.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1. On Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, joining us on the debate, Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP, Sushil Pandit, activist. We also have Anirban Banerjee and Dr. Sumansi Raman, both political analysts. But I want to start with you, Sanju Verma, because today Amit Malviya made a very serious charge, almost seeming to suggest that this was an intentional conspiracy by The Wire in order to, quote-unquote, stifle the right to dissent and to subvert the choices of the Indian public. On what basis are you saying this?
Padmaja, let's be very clear that The Wire is a repeat and a habitual offender. For the sake of viewers who've joined in today on your show, because we discussed this yesterday as well, it's a genuine mistake if it's a one-off. It's an oversight if it's done on a couple of occasions. But when you do it willfully, deliberately, with malice, and you show remorse or regret, then I think the logical conclusion is that The Wire has been doing this repeatedly with the intent to malign the Modi government. Because don't forget, Amit Malviya at the end of the day is the bona fide head of the BJP's IT cell. And when you make serious charges saying that Amit Malviya had the ability to take down at his will Instagram posts which he thought were unfit to be out there in the public domain, you are actually saying that the Modi government, directly or indirectly, is subverting dissent. Whereas the hard truth is that Prime Minister Modi personally is the most trolled leader globally, and I think hats off to Amit Malviya also. We know that when there's even a little bit of oversight from the BJP's IT cell or any of the bona fide BJP members, we are subjected to hardcore scrutiny, and we don't wish to be spared on that count. But my important point is that when the tech fog story happened in January 2022, what did the tech fog story say?
Okay.
It said that the BJP has been hijacking inactive WhatsApp accounts to influence them. The second thing it said was that the BJP leadership and IT cell is storing data of individuals with the intent of harassing them in a certain manner which is malafide. And the third thing that tech fog said is that the BJP and its entire paraphernalia is using the tech fog application to automatically retweet posts which are favorable to the current dispensation. So clearly, the tech fog story was not checked. Based on the tech fog story, you had the Editors Guild of India on the 11th of January 2022, barely a few days after Wire came out with the tech fog story. The Editors Guild wrote to the current leadership, the Modi government, saying we want you to dismantle the abusive and misogynistic ecosystem which trolls women.
Okay.
But Padmaja, I want to ask the Editors Guild today, very humbly, I want to ask them, they posted a tweet at 9:51 a.m. today. I want to ask the President, Seema Mustafa, Anant Nath, the General Secretary, and Sriram Pawar, the Treasurer. The last 4 lines in their press statement reads, the Guild is also disturbed by the recent turn of events with respect to reports published by the Wire on Meta. The Guild is conscious of and emphasizes the need for extra care in investigative journalism and urges newsrooms to resist the temptation of moving fast on sensitive stories, circumventing due journalistic norms and checks. So far, so good. But Ms. Pasha, Mr. Nath and Mr. Pawar, have you bothered to condemn the Wire? No.
Okay.
You allowed the Wire to go scot-free, thereby being an apologist for the Wire.
Okay.
Thereby being an apologist for an ecosystem which very consciously and in a calibrated manner.
Okay, so you've raised many points. One is about the ecosystem, the other is about the Editors Guild, but you start off by saying that this is a pattern and all of it is a pattern to systematically show down not just the Bharatiya Janata Party but also the country as a whole. Anirban Banerjee is already laughing at that suggestion. Why is that, Anirban Banerjee? There is the tech fog which has been quoted, and tech fog was very serious because remember it was quoted to lower India's democratic index. Democratic Freedom Index. There were op-eds written that India is a place where women simply cannot report, that anyone who speaks up against the government is systematically vilified and silenced. Was there a pattern, Anirban Banerjee?
Yeah, it's really funny to hear that the almighty RSS BJP is actually crying foul over a very, very small website portal. I mean, the RSS, the BJP is the biggest political party in the entire world, maybe the entire universe as well. Why are they so afraid of a simple website called The Wire? Even if they have published a story which they, the BJP, seen that they were the target, they were the bullseye in this case, why are they afraid? They have got their 56 inches, the red-eyed Mr. Modi to defend them, to protect them from everything.
That is hardly a defense, right? Saying that, what if I'm defaming you? You are a very powerful person. Which is like you will go after Elon Musk and say, oh, you are one of the most rich people in the world, so I'm going to say defamatory things about you. I'm going to call you a murderer. It doesn't work like that, sir. There's ethics, right?
The Wire has categorically said whoever they collected the information from, the objectionable information or the forged information, whatever it was, he will have to answer before the court of law.
No, he will have to answer, but there will be editorial oversight also. But let me bring in the more important part in that statement, because Sushil Pandit, the Wire statement says that whether he was working on his own or on the behest of somebody. Also now suggesting that maybe Wire was trapped by their own reporter at the behest of somebody. Maybe you, maybe Amit Malviya, maybe BJP.
No, I think the same theory and same logic should be applied here. Why should a portal, a company, a well-funded venture go after a solitary reporter who may have committed a mistake and why go after his life? Why not just take the punch on the chin? Why suddenly sack the solitary individual for this crime? You know, this is typical rural accident mentality. You don't see who's committed the crime, who was on the wrong. You see which one is a bigger vehicle and which one is the smaller vehicle. And smaller vehicle must always get away with all kinds of violations. Now, this is pedestrian, completely cuckoo logic. You have to see the track record of fire. They are.
So answer me this, Sushil Pandit, because a lot of people are going to turn around and say, are you really saying that the wire is going to go after the government of India? The government of India is all powerful. They are, very small organization who anyway subsists on crowdfunding.
Yeah,
they are not MI5. They are not the foreign hand. They're just a small organization.
I've seen the crowd consists of some of the billionaires on the land, the tycoons who have huge, deep pockets. I don't wish to name them here, but Wire has received massive funds from very well-heeled individuals. And that, of course, don't call it crowdfunding then. This is crowdfunding is something else. This is misusing this, it's a misnomer to call it crowdfunding. But the point is, you are a repeat offender in the name of so-called ideology, dogma, prejudice masquerading as ideology.
Okay, very quickly, Anirban Banerjee wants to respond. Dogma masquerading as journalism.
Very lofty standard for each and every news outlet, portal, websites, newspapers, everything, who have been regularly putting out fake news.
And they get penalized and called out, sir. The funny thing is, and I want to say this categorically, that Times Now and every other organization should be up for scrutiny, is up for scrutiny, is repeatedly scrutinized through the courts, through independent organizations. But those same organizations, Anirban Banerjee, did not for once in the last 1 month do a fact check on this layer and layer of falsehoods. Meta was coming in and saying you are forging our emails, and all of the organizations are mum. And today they are giving certificates of honesty saying, very nice of you to own up and apologize. Congratulations, very nice of you. We must hail them.
Standard for everyone.
Sir, the same standards are not applied. That is the problem, Mr. Banerjee. Sushil Pandit is countering you. I absolutely agree the same standards should be applied, but they are not. Conversely, they are not.
I have also
that is the point.
Not just people joining
the Wire has been a regular
watchdog, which is supposed to, the watchdog, which is supposed to, sorry, a body which is supposed to protect the journalists was absolutely mum when an editor was dragged early in the morning to the jail. What happened to that watchdog? Today, you come out and join the bandwagon and then retract merrily as the website retracts. I mean, where are the standards? Where is the commitment?
Your favorite portal,
this entire thing has become a partisan gameplay.
The only thing they hold.
Also, by the way, completely quiet when female journalists were heckled in Patna, when female journalists were heckled at Ghazipur border, at Singhu border, because the hecklers were your ideological brethren. The Editors Guild was completely silent, sir. So yes, you are absolutely right, and it has to be said today that standards must be applied uniformly across the board, but they are not. Dr. Sumansi Raman wants to come in. Dr. Sumansi Raman, then Sanju Verma.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Padmaja, you put it beautifully. So when mainstream television channels day after day put out fake news, that should also be debated. You've hit the nail on the head. You've said the exact thing that I wanted to say, that we should have a uniform playing field. So, I'm just reading an article here which says a compilation of Dash's experiments untruth. I'm not going to name the channel, it could be embarrassing, but I'm not naming it. Then there is another article which says Amit Malviya's fake news fountain, 16 pieces of misinformation spread by the BJP IT Cell chief. And this is in the scroll. It is sometime in 2020, so I don't know if that 16 has increased now or not. The point is, the Wire has a very, very limited readership. They made a huge mistake They've apologized,
please, this is
and I
a
think
lame
they've
argument.
fired the journalist who
So
was
here's the thing,
involved.
sir.
And
If that was the
certainly,
first article
Mr.
where you were
Malviya,
going to take our name,
Malviya,
it's perfectly fine. We have said this
Mr.
again and again
Malviya is
that
well
we are
within his
open to
rights. One
scrutiny
second.
on multiple platforms.
news
We
channels
have
are
been
doing the same
scrutinized
thing.
on multiple
I can give you-
platforms,
can
and
I
we have
give you-
accepted where we have made mistakes.
One-
But it should be
one
done
second.
uniformly, and you still haven't answered. Why was there
they
no
have
fact
accepted
check
it.
done when
Now,
openly, openly people were being called out for malintent in writing these pieces? It wasn't a mistake. It was malintent.
Because, let me tell you, most
I think
of
he's
these,
not making any coherent
most
point.
of these were
Mr. Raman is not
rebutted
making
by
any
the wire
coherent point.
with technical.
He's blabbering
1 minute,
as
I'm making a
always.
very cogent point. I am making a very
Mr.
cogent
Raman, you're
point.
blabbering
Sanju
without
Verma
any-
ji,
Okay, please let him finish his point. Let him finish his point. Let's give him the benefit of doubt, even though he's not very charitable to us.
She won't
But
allow
go
me
on,
to
make your
complete.
point, Dr. Raman.
See,
Go
the
on.
pattern is if she allows me to complete.
Go on, finish your point. 20
My
seconds,
point
go
is
on.
very simple. I don't remember a debate. I don't remember a debate on having a debate on this article about Amit Malviya's fake news fountain, 16 pieces of misinformation, or various channels. One channel put a video game and showed it as Indian fighter aircraft.
Sir, you are talking
flying over
about
Pakistan and
mistakes. The
something.
difference here is malintent. We're talking purely about TV channels
Not
there.
mistakes.
How do you address
A
the issue of
video
malintent?
game- a video
Okay,
game
Sanju Verma.
is
Sanju
not
Verma.
a
Basically,
mistake.
what Dr. Raman is saying, I
video
think,
game
if I may
shown as a real
presume to
incident is
summarize
not a
on his
mistake.
behalf, he is saying that mistakes are made by everyone, and in the current case, this was technical information which Wire was misled by. You are making it out to be some, mammoth conspiracy. It is not. They just didn't understand that, a forged email and a real email ka difference kya hota hai.
Okay. Padmaja, I don't wish to troll Mr. Raman. I think I credit him with a lot of intelligence, and I think he knows the difference between genuine mistake, oversight, and deliberate engagement in calumny, deliberate engagement in trying to defame the government, defame one of the key bona fides, post holders of the BJP IT Cell, Amit Malviya no less, who heads the IT Cell. I just want to tell Mr. Raman this. Do you remember at the peak of the COVID second wave, Bharat Biotech promoters had to actually issue out a public statement. Pointedly they rejected every allegation of the Wire and of Siddharth Vardarajan, because Siddharth Vardarajan said that Bharat Biotech, most of the vaccines made by it have expired. They are beyond their expiry date. Second allegation he leveled was that it has failed to clear some of the necessary tests required to know whether it can generate the requisite immune response. The third allegation they made was that Bharat Biotech does not even have the capability to produce one core vaccine. May I please finish?
Verma,
May I please finish?
You're
Mr.
not even aware
Blabbermouth,
that
Mr.
WHO
Blabbermouth,
has
Mr.
said it
Blabbermouth,
does not
may I
follow
finish?
Okay, sir, without going off into tangential issues, the fact of the matter is that the court asked for the takedown of those articles and they had taken down.
Absolutely the wrong example.
Sir, those articles had to be taken down, and there is no dispute in that.
Has stopped usage of Bharat Biotech.
Sir, we are talking very limitedly to the articles of this particular magazine being taken down. That is all. I don't know what you're going on about. We have a very specific issue at hand over here of these articles being taken down.
That's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying is, so today, very interestingly, Sushil Pandit, Sanju Verma, before she comes in, Sanju Verma, I also want to tell you, by the way, since we are having the larger debate also, it's not just about this one issue. Mr. Rahul Gandhi today also jumped in, and when he was responding to Elon Musk, he said, Twitter should act against hate speech, fact check most robustly, and will no longer stifle the opposition's voice in India due to government pressure. So the irony is, you are saying social media is being used against you. Rahul Gandhi is saying social media is being used to stifle his voice. Everyone's a victim. Sanju Verma.
Please come in. Yeah, thank you. Padmaja, Mr. Raman butted in. I just want to make one very important point. And that limited point is this, that be it the Freedom International body, be it World Freedom Index, don't forget that the tech tech fog report was used to say that the Modi government is deliberately targeting free speech absolutists and free speech advocates. After that, New York Times and Washington Post, took forward the tech fog report to malign the Modi government. So what happens is that one entity called the Wire engages in disinformation. Then there are two international magazines who come out with a reference to the Wire story saying, yes, press freedom in India is under threat. Then what happens? Editors Guild, when the bluff of Wire is called out, Editors Guild says, oh, there should be more protocol that needs to be followed by journalists, but Editors Guild of India does not have the guts to condemn the Wire.
Okay.
Editors Guild has not even expressed regret. It simply says
What about
that,
the New York
no
Okay, you are making the same points about tech fog and Editors Guild amplifying
New
it and
York Times is
international
fake
publications
news.
amplifying it. And Sumansi Raman and Anirban are completely discounting all of that. But Anirban Banerjee, the funny thing is that today the Congress president, the former Congress president Rahul Gandhi, is saying, Twitter should not be used to stifle the voice of the opposition. The funny thing is, he's talking about fact check, he's talking about due diligence, etc. 2 days after leaders of his party tweeted videos of a crowd in Andhra Pradesh as Bharat Jodo Yatra. I mean, everyone says social media is, biased towards the other side, while you actively misuse social media. You are saying BJP does it? Sure, they do it. But so does everyone else. Congress does it too.
The funny thing is that India's press freedom index, according to Madam Verma, depends only on the stories of the Wire.
No, so
There is no other criteria, no other standard. Only if the Wire reports against the BJP government, the entire freedom index goes down. If they don't, suddenly the freedom index will go up. I mean, so where do you get this reasoning and logic? A single news portal with not even much wide readership, a single story of theirs has got the freedom index down. You want us to believe this? Not everybody lives in Modi Lala land, man.
Okay, Sushil Pandit, answer this. You can keep slamming the Wire, but Anirban Banerjee says, look at your freedom of press index. It's abysmal. That in itself shows how dictatorial the whole situation is right now, social media included.
Padmaja, both Rahul Gandhi and Anirban are legatees of the system that imposed emergency and press censorship in this country. It doesn't lie in their mouth to even say a word about it. They must introspect what they have done to press freedom in this country. The worst phase in which press freedom had to suffer was 2 years of 1975 to 1977 when journalists were jailed, when newspapers ran blank pages, when entire dissent was stifled and people were stuffed into the prisons. What woken up?
1922, not 1975.
But you are the legatees of that legacy. So hang your head in shame. Nobody should ever forget what happened in 1975. If we forget, we risk people like your leader.
Okay.
We risk people like Rahul Gandhi.
The funny thing is you're talking about the Freedom Press Index, but I just recall faintly, Anirban Banerjee, that after the recent violence in West Bengal, a YouTuber was picked up because he made some comment about the violence that happened. And yet we sit here and decry the Press Freedom Index and how the freedom of press is fast eroding in the India. Let's also reflect for a moment who all have contributed to that erosion and in what way. Anyhow, like we've said again and again, the matter is now in court, and that is the only platform where it can be decided one way or the other. Bluffs must be called. Thanks very much, all gentlemen. Sanju Verma for joining me.